We're good? Warmed up? All right. Well, we will go ahead and get started on our committee of the whole meeting. Just about 6:30 here, so I think in speaking with Daryl, do we want to start with the consent agenda, maybe jump to the contract for legal services?
Sure, be happy to.
Got to order there a little bit, seeing how our counselors here in the audience.
So, well, I don't know if you all have met Crystal before, but I'll let Crystal take it away.
Okay,
Her contract expires tomorrow, or no, the 1st. So.
No pressure.
No pressure.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Commissioners. I'm Crystal Morgan. As you are aware from the information in your packet and possibly from talking with me in the past, my law office is under contract with the City of Walker to perform the prosecutorial services for the city. That contract is set to expire February 1. So what is before you this evening is a proposed addendum to that contract, which would extend it for 3 years. The terms of the contract, in essence, remain the same in terms of the scope of the work. Just a brief reminder, the work that's performed under this contract is it's tended to be all-inclusive, so it covers all attorney time, all administrative tasks, travel, expenses. We've done some ordinance amendments under the scope of this contract. You might remember recent amendments regarding fireworks and marijuana and other offenses. We do training, legal updates for the police department. All of that falls under the umbrella of this contract. There has been somewhat of a change in the process at the court and a slight increase in the workload as a result of the implementation of the Michigan Indigent Defense Council recommendations. I've had meetings with the court staff, the judge, and also the public defender together working through that process. It's still somewhat new over there, but we are working to make sure that we're being as efficient as possible, and I think that's reflected in the proposed contract addendum. You will see that there's a slight increase being proposed, and that is a reflection of what I believe to be the increased workload and trying to anticipate that forward. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have about the work or about the proposed contract. Happy to talk with anyone about that.
Maybe a little background for our newer commissioners too. We've, although it's been some time, but I think the most recent one was our Class C liquor license request, and I think of what a tremendous help Crystal was, and there's just been a number of things over the years, and I without our police chief being in the room yet, speaking for him, I know he's extremely comfortable with the relationship and the dependability and the trust that we have in you and what you do for us. And I know from the MIDC, because we get quite a few emails, seems on a daily basis with those, but that there is a lot more work around that in reporting requirements. I know we just submitted. So that being said, I'm, for the historical context for the rest of the commission, we've had Crystal for quite some time, been very familiar with her. It's 10 plus years now. Pretty close?
2013, I believe, was the first. I did work for the city prior to that, but not the
That was the
prosecution
context
work.
I was
Yes.
thinking of. So that being said, it's a relationship on behalf of the police department, myself. We've been very comfortable. It's not something that I ever worry about because I know that we're in very good hands there. So that being said, we'll open up to questions anybody has for Crystal, but I wanted to give some historical context there.
Thank you.
Because we don't usually see you, and that's a good thing.
Just curious, how many hours do you typically work a week for Walker?
Typically, my invoices will reflect on a monthly basis
Okay.
around 40, but I will say that I don't include travel time in those invoices. My travel to the court is under a half hour each way, but it can be multiple times per week. I also try to be very detailed in my billing, but I don't reflect every single telephone call and every mundane email because it takes more time sometimes to type that out than it did to do the task. So I would say attorney time is probably around 40 hours. It fluctuates though. You know, we had a jury trial in December. When you have trials or hearings that you're preparing for, or the legal updates, in those months you tend to see it go up. But I would say it's been pretty consistent in the 40-hour range per month. Yeah,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Anything else, commissioners? Comments, questions?
Comment.
Mr. Kent?
Over the years, it's not been that many, but the police department and everybody seems happy with your work, and so generally, if they're not, we hear about it, so, but I think it's going good and happy to see it. Thank you.
Daryl?
Just wholeheartedly agree with the comments that you said, Mr. Mayor and Dan. And yeah, Crystal's done a wonderful job for us. She's been in this role, and nothing but high praise from not only the police department but the court office as well. And everything with the MIDC is, nobody knew what that we were getting into when that all started, and it's gone pretty. I don't want to say flawless, but got a pretty good system going over there now. So wholeheartedly support this addendum for the 3-year term as presented by Crystal.
Okay, have my quick straw poll. We'll take action on this at 7. Any concerns, other questions, or we look like we're in good shape on this one? See, good head nods. So, Counselor, I think you're all free to go, so you're all set. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yep. All right, so back to consent agenda. Any questions on the, with Trav Scott here, the Walker Bridge removal? Let's jump to that now. And Trav, can I impose upon you for one thing, and it's just bugging me? Those outside lights, would you mind hitting the cream colored in the corner? Sorry. It's off a little bit for me.
Can you just walk through that memo?
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks, Travis.
That'd be great.
Okay, so it's been a couple weeks now. On December 19th, we received 8 bids for the Walker Avenue bridge removal project. A&R was the low bidder on that project with a bid of almost $2.5 million. We brought this to the last meeting, but we had to pull it at the last minute, so we wanted to be open and honest about that. There was one item that MDOT discovered that was omitted from the project list. And we went through some gyrations and jumping through some hoops to work through that. The item is actually related to the railroad electronic design itself. It's kind of a big item, but in the total project picture, it's not that big. It's less than 2% of the total project cost. But MDOT ultimately allowed and authorized us to award this project and move forward with our grant. And then we're going to have a change order to clean that up. So what we've done is we put together a project budget here that includes all the knowns, and it includes the one unknown that we're still working on, which is the railroad controls, which is listed towards the bottom. And you can see in there that the comma's in the wrong place on the number. I caught that today. So it looks like $6,1767. It's actually the number that's listed in the first paragraph, $61,767. We're hoping that number will come in. We've got a 5% project contingency still factored in. I talked to Daryl a little bit about how we're going to fit this between the 2 budget years earlier today, and we'll have a little bit of work to do with that, but the project's really kind of where we thought it was going to be. This is another one of those Mission Impossible projects that we're kind of crossing our fingers it's going to come out with a wonderful story at the end, with everybody happy and 100 new jobs at Bissell. Maybe the one unique thing about this project to point out, if you forgot, is that we did get a TEDF grant for this. So this is not our traditional kind of road improvement grant. This is based on Bissell's expansion. There are high-tech jobs. Frank did a lot of work on this in the background. We got enough credit. So we have $1.7 million to help with the construction on that. So we feel like we're in pretty good shape. We recommend that you award it to A&R. And Jason Washler is here if there's any questions. He's done the majority of the work on putting this together. I think we're still kind of all in awe that we're going to take out a bridge and it's going to work out. So he's really the expert on that.
All right, commissioners, any questions, comments?
Gonna put a roundabout at Waldorf?
That's a 4-letter word, isn't it? No, right? Unless you tell us to consider that. We're going to have enough earthwork to
Thank you.
Scott, could you just talk a little bit about timing of when you think things might get started and what the impacts? I know we'll publish the heck out of this once you meet with the contractor, but maybe for their
I could,
purpose.
but, you know, as long as Jason's here, why don't we let him touch on that, so he feels that he had some word, give us his name with the family.
Yeah, so we're gonna have a pre-construction meeting here in a couple weeks, so we'll get the details scheduled for the contractor, but we expect clearing to start in the month of March, and then construction will start, first of April. I expect it'll be very early in April. We're gonna need the entire time to get the road back open when we ask them to, and then completion, or open to traffic date is August 7th. Okay.
Which I want to thank both Scott and Travis, just the diligence with MDOT and getting through this. This could have been problematic and have significant delays attached to it. So the fact that we not only are staying on track with it, we overcame a pretty big hurdle for a small detail. So just commend you, because I was listening to the details of it and I thought this could get ugly really quickly, and it worked out. So thank you on that end of it. Commissioners, any questions on this for the 7 o'clock action item? Any concerns? I'm seeing head nods, so we should be good on this one. Then I think the other one, so I think we're good with Jason on this one. Then the traffic signal maintenance agreement. Travel, let you have that one. Thanks, Jason.
Did I do that right? It's on. Okay. Yeah, traffic signal maintenance agreements. So as much as everyone loves Scott and Travis here in Walker, we do have a lot of consulting engineers we work with and partner governmental agencies. One of those partner governmental agencies is the city of Grand Rapids, and they actually operate and maintain all of our traffic signals in Walker. This is actually, our current agreement actually with them dates back to 1975. So it goes back a long ways. And this Grand Rapids partnership is not just with Walker. They also provide signal maintenance services for MDOT, Kent County Road Commission, Kentwood, Wyoming, Granville, and even some parts of Ottawa County. So this agreement, because it's so old, it's time to update it. And so that time's finally come. Grand Rapids has had some turnovers in staff there. So the timing was right to make this agreement update. It's largely the same. The one main difference is the old agreement was only reactive in nature. The new agreement's a lot more proactive. With that being said, for the last number of years, Grand Rapids has been very proactive on our signals, going out and inspecting them and doing maintenance ahead of time, trying to give us a long-term cost savings and helping us to do better asset management on our signals. So new agreements before you. Daryl, did you want to talk through any of the insurance details, or?
Sure, there's one section of the agreement regarding insurance, and we're still fine-tuning that between our attorney and the Grand Rapids attorney and our insurance company to make sure that we can have adequate insurance coverage. So that's paragraph 7 in the agreement, but it really doesn't affect the integrity, I don't think, of the agreement at all, but we will make sure that that's satisfied. So if you're inclined to approve it, I would ask that it be subject to that paragraph being, addressed accordingly.
And I wanted, we
Council.
talked about this earlier today, and I want to, again, say thank you for the due diligence, because we actually read the agreements, and the fact that we caught this, had a conversation with the attorney, checked with our insurance firm. Our due diligence here is extremely strong, and it's something that really, quite frankly, should not be in there. So I think we're telling Grand Rapids we're not going to do it with this based on advice of counsel. So I'm comfortable with us doing this with that being stricken from that. So even though it's in there in the document tonight, I'll ask the commission at the 7 o'clock meeting when we get to the consent agenda, I'll ask to approve with the caveat there that will be section 7 on page 54 will actually be stricken, that entire piece with the insurance. We will not be naming Grand Rapids. We'll not be adding them as a maintaining agency to the agreement.
Yep.
Hopefully that makes sense for everybody. Something that was not in the old agreement. It's something brand new that we've not had to deal with before. And that's not my understanding, it's not a real common practice either, so.
Yep, that's our understanding also.
Yep. Okay.
Any questions?
I just have one quick question and a comment. I know we've talked about this in traffic committee, and I really appreciate that this has been updated and that we have this agreement with Grand Rapids, so we're not having to piecemeal getting things fixed and everything kind of flows together throughout the area. One question I have, it says in the process document, how to report concerns. Let me see. I don't know. It's not numbered. It's in the, let me see. So it's in the maintenance guidelines from GR. About the 5th page in, 6th? Oh, sorry. Well, it says 14 on my iPad.
What's the topic heading under the maintenance guidelines?
Instructions. Yeah.
So I have Exhibit A.
Yeah.
Electronic traffic control guidelines, maintenance guidelines. Electronic traffic control devices, maintenance guidelines. That's what you're looking at, correct?
Correct.
And then,
Oh, let me see. It's page 7, maybe? The last page number I see is page 4, and then there's 5, 6, 7, 8.
so, the maintenance agreement, obviously comes right after my cover memo. And that maintenance agreement refers to Exhibit A.
Uh-huh.
And the city of Grand Rapids actually put, I think it's 3 different documents under Exhibit A.
Okay.
So they've got their maintenance guidelines, the preventive maintenance checklist, and standard operating procedures for emergency callbacks, and then they also have an inventory record.
I'm on the standard operating procedures
Okay.
for emergency callbacks.
Okay.
All right.
Travis, if you're on the paper, it's page 64 at the top.
Just that one. Yeah.
So it talks about the customer service piece here, and I know this is a question that has come up to me. People are curious about how to report potential traffic signal issues.
Yeah.
Would that then come through us, or would they just report directly to the city of Grand Rapids?
This, as I understand it, this document's for internal Grand Rapids.
Okay.
This is if someone was in Grand Rapids and called 311, this is how they would handle it. So
Okay.
the operator would follow these procedures.
So our
All
residents,
residents have historically just call us.
Okay.
It usually comes to the front desk, and then it gets relayed to Scott or myself or DPW, and then we contact Grand Rapids
Okay.
directly, so they don't have to go through the whole 311 system.
Okay.
So this is the 311 procedure.
okay, all right. So it would be appropriate to tell them, hey, call 311? Or would you prefer they come through us?
I like to know what's going on.
Okay,
We should really have those run through, so we're not spending a lot of money without authorization.
got it.
Yeah.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks.
And I think to build on that, in the situation, you have a major intersection, say a 3 Mile and Walker, where they might be out, in that rare instance, police will actually make that phone call. So that gets escalated very quickly then, but we still have knowledge of it at that point.
Sorry, I didn't hit the red button again. I think when Carol talked, it turned off, and then I forgot to turn it back on.
So any other questions on this conversation? Okay, so we'll be looking at 7 o'clock. We can kick Scott and Travis loose here. Looking at 7 o'clock. If I see no concerns here, that we'll move forward with the agreement. Key piece there with the exclusion of the insurance, adding Grand Rapids in as mutual partner on that, so.
Yeah, and I'll contact Grand Rapids tomorrow, let them know, it was approved minus,
Exactly.
Section 7, so.
Okay, and I'll sign it at that point.
Okay, thank you.
Cool, thanks, guys.
I gotta stay, sorry.
No, that's right. All right, last on the consent agenda, any questions on the expenditures? Okay, good. All right, what time are we, 6:50? 10 minutes? Want to roll through, we'll start, at least get through the commissioners thing and maybe get to the manager, so we'll start with our clerk to the right, if that works. Yep.
The only thing I have, I left it in front of you, Mayor, is, I didn't bring it up earlier, but I thought time is coming fast. Monday, March 9 is a city commission meeting. Hoping that we can cancel that due to that presidential primary night prior. This will be set up as a precinct, as well as, the city clerk's office will be out delivering laptops between 4 and 6 p.m. at the precincts because we cannot even set the laptops up by state law now until 4 o'clock.
And we have, and one quick, as I'm looking at the list here, is the work sessions are not on here. So
Yeah,
in the
these are
event-
just the commission.
So in the event, in that situation, I don't know if Daryl and Frank are fine with this, but I'm comfortable knowing that we have a meeting on the 16th as a work session that we could always move to a commission meeting if we had to.
Absolutely.
If there was something that's time
Absolutely.
sensitive, so.
Yep.
So yeah, as I'm looking at this, and there's nothing else on here. Memorial Day, we're obviously closed. Then Labor Day in the fall. So outside of that, I'm good with. So is the commission fine with that March 9th, I think, being empathetic to the situation?
Okay. Thank
Okay.
you.
So noted. All right, anything else from the clerk's office?
That's it.
Okay. Commissioner Gilbert? Commissioner Glanville?
Just a couple things. First, I wanted to mention the Zinsser Open House is tomorrow, or Wednesday,
Wednesday night.
excuse me.
Yep.
Yeah, what day is it? And I think, it's a good opportunity for us to get in and see how that bond money has been spent, especially since they're ramping up to ask for another bond, I believe this year sometime, is that correct? Yeah, so it's just a good opportunity for us in the community to get in and see what the money has been spent on and how the improvements we've made in that particular school and a number of the schools already in the area. And then the second thing I wanted to mention kind of goes on the heels of last week's Martin Luther King Day, that today is Holocaust Remembrance Day, which, it's always, for me, it's a little interesting because I actually had the opportunity to visit Dachau some years ago, and that the feeling that I had there, has never quite left. So it's a pretty somber experience to actually be in that space. And it was interesting when I was looking at some of the documentation today, I came across this quote from Eli Wiesel that says, "Action is the only remedy to indifference, the most insidious danger of all." And I thought it was really interesting how that echoed what I heard from Martin Luther King last week about the same idea of this direct action and being really hands-on with the work that we do. And I just, I'm proud to be here with this group of people doing that for the community of Walker. And that's all I have.
Good, thank you. Mr. Groters?
Nothing for me.
Okay. Commissioner Isaac? Commissioner DeShane? Commissioner Kent? Do we dare go down the rabbit hole down there? No, just with
I
the
will
two
be-
of you.
I'll be brief. We extended an offer to a local planner, and the offer was accepted. So this week, we're going through her background, and hopefully, we will have her on board here within 2 or 3 weeks. It's still going to be a mentoring process, similar to what we did with Dan, but she's very talented, obviously, and we'll bring her on board and bring her in to meet you folks.
Great. Awesome, thank you.
Nothing much here other than continuing to work on budget with departments, so we'll have a first draft together, hopefully by the 15th, we get to the clerk's office, so just a draft. So continuing meetings next week with department heads. I'll be out most of the rest of the week at the managers conference up north this week, so Frank will be holding down the fort in another department here and keeping busy, so should be a quiet week.
Awesome, good stuff. The only thing I have is just Sharon was in DC last week, had the Mayor's Innovation Project, and I'm going to keep under wraps a number of the ideas, some introductions of some new programs, things we're going to do at the State of the City. So I'm not ready to share those yet because I'll stay under cloak until then. And then secondly, had the privilege again of being in the White House Friday afternoon with the president and roughly about 100 other mayors from around the country, different cities and so forth, and was able to see a somewhat historic signing. There was, I think it was a $375 million appropriation that was signed right in front of us for houses of worship and additional security for around the country, and obviously something this day and age a challenge to do, and it's a burden on local departments. So that being said, that's all I have there. If we want to take a quick, if anybody needs breaks for anything, got about 3-4 minutes here, and we can roll. We'll let them in. Travis, thanks again for doing that light. Sorry, just it was off. I could see it was dark in the walls.
picture frame. I was going to put it right.
Kurt, you prepared to sing your high school fight song and everything else, all the stuff we'll do here at the start? Okay, just checking. That's good. All right. We will give it another minute and a half here. Who are we missing, Steve? Okay. Well, seeing how there's that awkward silence, you don't want to hear me tell any bad jokes. So we'll go ahead and open our commission meeting, call the meeting to order here. I'd like to ask Commissioner Kent to deliver the invocation, please.
Shall we pray? Our Heavenly Father, we pray and give thanks to you as we reflect on all the good and beautiful things we have. We ask thee to watch over our military, our police and fire departments, and everyone serving and helping others to make this city a better place to live. We ask for your guidance in the decisions we make here tonight. Lord, we ask this in your name. Amen.
Amen. I'd like the audience to invite you to please join and rise with us for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. If I could ask the clerk, please, to call the roll.
Mayor Carey,
Present.
Commissioner Kent,
Present.
Commissioner Gilbert. Present. Commissioner DeShane,
Present?
Commissioner Glanville. Present. Commissioner Groders,
Present.
and Commissioner Heisinger. Present. Thank you.
Thank you all. If I can, I'm going to take these one individually. Look for approval, if there's no other discussion, on the January 13th, 2020 commission meeting minutes.
I'll make a motion.
Motion from Commissioner Heisinger.
I'll support.
Support, Commissioner Glanville got there first. You're next. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? And then next on the list is the January 20th, 2020 Commission Work Session Minutes. Look for a motion to approve those.
I'll make the motion.
Motion from Commissioner Glanville.
I'll support.
I'm going to give that one to DeShane this time, so.
Thank you. It's my turn.
All right. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, we are good to go. So Any public comment on agenda items? All right, we're good to go. And always a highlight for all of us up here, and I know the family and so forth in here, and just to kind of set his, call the chief up to the podium here for our next new addition is family and friends when we get done here in just a second with the chief and the badge pinning. Please don't be bashful, take pictures. This only happens one time, so once we get all through it, we're good to go.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Once again, thank you for providing the opportunity for us to come up, and as you mentioned, it is quite a nice event for our new officers. It's my privilege tonight to be introducing our newest officer to the force, Kurt Bindus. Kurt comes to us with some experience, though, which is awful nice. When we start hiring new officers, Kurt comes to us with 5 years' experience at the Fruitport Police Department, and then most recently at the Iowa County Sheriff's Office. Kurt is a Bronco by trade, graduated from Western Michigan University, and attended Kalamazoo's Police Academy. So it definitely is our privilege to welcome him. He started with us back in October, and as the tradition has become the tradition, we allow our new hires to complete their field training process. Kurt has accelerated through that process, and as of last weekend, has been cleared for solo patrol. So you'll see him out and about on his own now. So I think you're on day shift now. Yes. So our new guys get to go to day shift. It took me 23 years to get to days, but that's all right. I'm not bitter. No. One thing I want you to keep in mind, though, Kurt, when we start talking about what this position means and what this badge ceremony is all about, there's a few things I like to remind our officers, and we talked about that when we had our little one-on-one in my office originally. But the symbolism of pinning this badge is going to be probably the highlight of your career. It's something you're always going to remember. I want you to always remember, though, that it's much more than just receiving that badge, because tonight we're also going to talk about what the oath of office means. It talks about honor, dignity, and respect for all people. Those are the mantras that we follow here at the agency, as you know. When we speak of serving with honor, this represents your word as a bond of truth, and what you're saying is your personal guarantee that you're going to carry that out. Walking the walk, not just talking the talk. Dignity is the personal principles which frames your ethical foundation. So once we talk about dignity, we talk about what is your ethical foundation, and we expect those standards to be met both on duty and off duty. The ethics you will follow both in your professional and personal life as you represent our agency and the law enforcement profession and your family. Respect is the manner in which you will treat all people. Your character, qualities which will distinguish you as an individual with the highest integrity values. You'll be held accountable for your actions while interacting with the community, and you'll be expected to exercise an unbiased and impartial demeanor with all citizens. Lastly, remember to stay grounded, humble, and dedicated to serving this noblest professions. So you see, the badge is much more than just a symbol of authority. It carries much more. And I'm hoping that you remember that as you continue through your career and remember those mantras that we follow. So with that, it is now my privilege to administer the oath of office. If you'd raise your right hand for me, please. As a Walker police officer, you are to act as an official representative of our city and are required and trusted to work within the law. Your powers and duties as a police officer are conferred upon you by the state of Michigan by statute. Your fundamental duties as an officer include serving the community, safeguarding lives and property, protecting the innocent, keeping the peace, and ensuring the rights of all to liberty, equality, and justice. Our expectations are that you should perform all your duties impartially, without favor or affection or ill will, and without regard to status, sex, race, religion, political belief, or aspiration. All citizens will be treated equally with courtesy, consideration, and dignity. Do you swear to perform these duties?
I swear.
All right. Performing the ceremony is going to be wife Nicole. I think I have your badge. It's one of those awkward moments. It's like getting married, right? You have your ring. So Nicole will be the official pinner for Kurt. Feel free. I'm going to get out of your way for pictures. Excellent. Thank you. And with that, I want to officially welcome you to the family.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Would you like to say a few words?
I want to thank you very much for this opportunity. I don't take it for granted, and I'm excited to put in my work and do the best that I can for the community.
Thank you. So Officer Bindus and first family and friends, thank you for in advance the support and allowing him to serve our city. And we have a tradition as well up here, and you don't get off that easy. So to express our gratitude and congratulations, we ask you to come around and we each get a chance to shake your hand around here. So if you wouldn't mind coming past Deputy Chief Howell, it'd be great. And in front of it, thank you for the stuff that we have going yet. I'm not sure, Chief Kurt, if there's anything else that you need from us, but you're welcome to stay. Otherwise, free to leave. So.
I'll give you a quick update on KCDA later if you choose.
Ooh, we'll take that. We'll take that. Thank you. All right. Next on the list, we have something that's pretty neat. Is we have. I see some familiar faces out there, and I'm going to start. I did not see Lauren walk in. So our years of service recognition, 5 years, Lauren McNeese from the DDA. Lauren owns Wilderness Expression, cool little shop in Standale if you've not been in there before. Definitely worthy of stopping in. So she has a 5-year gift that Daryl's hiding under the desk over there. Then we have Leonard Adams, and I don't see Leonard here either. So the 10-year, also on the DDA. Leonard serves as our chair, and I want to give them just both recognition that those of us that have sat in the DDA meetings both contribute. Leonard's given us some good, stable leadership there, and with all the changes going on there, there's just a straight and narrow we follow. So I appreciate the service of both of them. 15 years before I called Tyler up here, just a little bit of a background is I've gotten to know him over time. He's like, okay, what's going to come out next? So there's, when you think of sitting in this chair, and Tyler's occupied this chair probably far more than I have over time, and there is something to be said for being to the other chairs and then being here. And there's also, there's a component of leadership, there's a component of, I talked about stability a minute ago, and sometimes it's really important during contentious discussions and developments and so forth. So it's not just the 15 years of service, it's how much leadership Tyler has given us up here. And I know I speak for all of us up here and myself specifically, having you up here, if I know you're here for that night, we're in good hands. So I appreciate the years of service, and I'm hoping to get another 15 out of you at somewhere along the way here, but I'm very grateful for the years of service. So we have, Daryl, I think you've got the 15-year thing. Yeah. Thank you.
I got to say a few words.
Oh. Terry might need some help here. I mean,
Honestly, sitting in that chair can be rough at times, and you have to bite your tongue, you have to be patient, and I can't imagine being mayor. So, but I also like sitting in the other chairs. Right now, I'm vice chair, so you know it's kind of a switch off on jobs. Being the chair, you get involved in a lot more than just the regular people on the planning commission. And it seems like you do, and that's kind of my choice too. So I really enjoyed it. I do enjoy it, and I'll stay on for a little longer. So thank you.
Thanks, Tyler. Hey, one last thing is he's heading away, the amount of homework and planning. I don't think there's been a time, and Commissioner Gilbert, help me out here if I'm wrong on this one. I don't think there's been a project, I haven't heard the words uttered. When I drove out there earlier this week, or I drove out last week, the amount of homework and investigation done on personal time, it means a lot, and it shows in the body of work that you bring up here.
Yeah, well, I can tell you as a statement from the Planning Commission that there are few members who do as much work ahead of time as Tyler Corfidge, and I cannot tell you how invaluable that experience is. And we come away with packets that typically are as big or bigger than what we get for our city commission meetings. So certainly there's an appreciation for the amount of work that takes and all that Tyler's put in.
Yeah. Appreciate it. And Terry, thank you for letting us have them all the time. So next on the list, 20 years of service. Dan Kent, it doesn't seem like 20, it seems like a lot longer, you know? I've got all my roast jokes right here I can start with, but no, I have just gotten to know Dan over the years, and as we head into the last term, last year of service that Dan has given to the city, I can really count on one hand the amount of commissioners that I truly always felt consistently, never without fail, had not just the city's best interests in mind, but the people he was representing, and is mine. So it's been a tremendous 20 years. We're not done yet. We have a lot of stuff to do between now and in November, but I think it's we talk about legacy, and a lot of times family is usually the first and foremost thing there, but I know you've left the city a much stronger legacy than you can possibly realize. So thank you for the 20 years of service as well.
Dan, you get a parting gift as well? And a certificate.
No.
Congratulations.
Yeah, good. Yeah. And last but not least, I see Roger sitting back there. So before I call Roger up,
I do. First of all, I'd like to thank Commissioner Kemp for his service. I cannot say how great a partner you've been in the First Ward and how much it's meant to me to have you to show me the ropes and get me ready to take on the mantle of the senior member for the First Ward at some point. Another 20-year service award that we have tonight is for our mayor, Gary Carey. So I would like to congratulate him on 20 amazing years of service. I think that each of us up here understands how much time you put into everything you do, and you have an outstanding legacy of mayors that you follow, but I think you've taken that mantle and you've pushed it to the next level and really gotten into the details of every day in the city of Walker. And
probably too much at times.
Well, I'll leave that one to city staff, but but I will say that the impact that you've left on the city thus far and what you'll continue to do over the years is something that people will remember for a long time in the city. So thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you. There is a bag down there.
Yep.
We get it. Come on. Could have waited here after.
And a nice certificate. Congratulations. Thank you.
Hey, look, our Mayor Pro Tem signed it. Nice. Very good. Thank you. Yep, thank you. And last but not least, as I see Roger sitting out there, one of the things in all the years of watching, that there's three committees, three commissions that are arguably the toughest to deal with in a municipality. And depending on the topic that comes up, it's planning, city commission, zoning. Depending on the topic, which order that's going to be in. Zoning's a tough one because it's Roger's job to say no, and it's the person speaking to them. It's their job to convince him, to change his mind. It could create that variance for it. And I think the burden that he carries and has for 25 years in serving is when they make a decision, it's statutory. I mean, it's law at that point. It's not something this commission can overturn. If it's ever appealed beyond that, we're at a judge's spot. So that's a heavy burden to carry, and there's a lot of homework that needs to be done. And as I've watched the ZBA meetings over the years and watched the skill that Roger puts into it, it's the homework, similar to what we shared about Tyler. It's the preparation, and that's the knowledge, the subject matter that he brings. So 25 years, yes, is a long time, and there's a family impact there, but you have served the city well. You've served our residents, I think, even better, and really have left things in a better place as we go on. So thank you for continuing to serve. You make a difference up here, and we're very grateful for all the years. So thank you. Very nice.
Thank you.
Any words to share, Roger?
25 years, I've seen a lot of changes in the ordinances and have forwarded some of those issues back to the Planning Commission on various things at the Ordinance Committee. As far as I know, in the last 25 years, I think we've only been sued a couple of times. So we try to make sure that procedures are followed and that we give every citizen equal opportunity to present their cases. And our overall job is to uphold the city ordinances that are passed by the Ordinance Committee and implemented by the City Commission. It's been my pleasure to serve the city.
Thank you, Roger. Hi. And there was one last thing Roger shared there is something that resonates with me about with him is everybody that comes up to that podium is treated with the dignity and respect that they deserved, and that's not always the case, I think, in coming in front of some boards, not in this city, but I see it definitely prevalent up here. So thank you again for 25 years. So moving on to the consent agenda. Any conversation around expenditures? We covered these in the committee of the whole. Covered the bridge removal, the prosecuting attorneys, our legal services, and then the traffic signal maintenance agreement with the exclusion of the insurance piece. So we can move forward with approval from one. I think we're good on all these, but I'm going to ask real quick. Motion?
Make motion to approve.
Motion, Commissioner Gilbert. So we have support? Support. Support, Commissioner Kent. Any other discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? All right, consent agenda passed. So resolution 20-551, and this is to strike the 2014 delinquent personal property tax list, our annual purge, so to speak. So Daryl, I'll turn over you if there's any additional color you want to share there.
Nope, this is really, this list is getting smaller and smaller as the years go on. There's only, I think, one or two on there that are over $50, but as you know, most of these businesses are out of business or have left the city. And the one larger one that's on there, Dan has been in contact with them for several years, so that is getting better as well. But yeah, he's made every attempt, as stated in the resolutions, to collect this, and after 5 years, asking for these to be stricken.
And I'd almost want to give a correlation to our clerk's department, because something we've talked about recently has been the correlation between how our record keeping has gotten exponentially better over the last couple of years, and that list continuing to shrink. So I know there's a direct correlation between the two, so I want to give you a shout out there. That being said, any discussion on this? Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion to approve striking the 2014 delinquent personal property tax list as is in our packet.
I'll make that motion.
Motion from Commissioner Shane. Do we have support?
Support.
Support, Commissioner Groders. Any other conversation around this? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Resolution 20-551 is passed. Next on the list, 20-552. This is a resolution to install consumers' power for Valley Site Farms.
I think I can handle this one for you folks. This resolution would amend our contract with Consumers Energy and would allow the installation of 8 streetlights in the Valley Site Farm subdivision, which was recently approved for final plat. There are 29 single-family lots within Valley Site Farms. The bill that you see included with your packet is a bill to the developer, so I'm already working with Travis and getting that bill paid through the developer. So we try to get these streetlights in early, both for security, from a security standpoint, but then also just it's a more, I think it's a better practice to make sure that if construction equipment or tool cribs or tool kits are left out on site, that you can actually have some security lighting out there. as the homes are being constructed. And so you have a resolution supporting material, and I will hand it back to the mayor.
Okay. Any other discussion on this or questions for Frank around this? I'll entertain a motion for approval then, seeing none.
I'll make a motion.
Motion from Commissioner Heisinger. Do I have support?
Support.
Support Commissioner Glanville. Any other discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Resolution 20-552 is passed. Next on the list is Resolution 20-553, which is the resolution regarding the sale of city-owned property, which is the Edison House. Darrell, I'm not sure if there's anything extra you want to add to this.
No, I think we talked about it last week and put the kind of memorialize this in a resolution form and attach the proposal so you can see, what they're offering and what they're proposing. So, happy to answer any questions if there are any.
And I think before if there aren't any other questions, before we get into this, this is a tough having, it's not one that I'm taking lightly, but it's one that a year ago, was on a list of mine of, what are we going to do with this? With some of our long-term liability and debt and upcoming projects, is this something that we can take on as an additional expense? And as the year's gone on, and we've had some of the challenges with the house illegally being used by the squatters and so forth over time, it just gone into a bit of a state of disrepair, not on fault of city staff or what have you, but because of the people that continue to illegally occupy it, and then we remove them. It's kind of a whack-a-mole thing, it seems, every couple of weeks. So I think we can all acknowledge it's probably time for us to part ways with this. And I think the plus with this is the opportunity that we're awarding this to is a business next door. We've gone through our public RFP process, so we've satisfied that, and we are taking the most that we can get for this. It's well within our the appraisal, the value of that house. It's deemed by our city assessor's office, but it's helping a business next door that is on the tax rolls, that is in the process of adding additional jobs, that is actually bringing this to fruition. So that being said, we'll look for, if there's no other discussion, we'll look for a resolution to approve 20-553.
I'll make the motion.
Motion for Commissioner Kent.
Support.
Support Commissioner Gilbert. Got there first. Any other discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion passed. Resolution 20-553 is passed. Resolution 20-554, the Northridge Special Assessment District, resolution number 2. Scott, any additional color, or is this Frank Darrell thing? Okay.
Yeah, if you recall, this is regarding the Northridge West Extension piece of property, and Jeff kind of laid out the steps of the special assessment process that we have to go through. There's about 7 steps, I think, in the process. I think in November, we approved the first resolution. These are the second and third resolutions that lead us through the special assessment process. The first resolution, I think, sets that it's a necessary project, and then the second resolution sets the public hearing date, as in the end of February, and Scott will touch on that. But that's really these two. They have to be adopted in this fashion according to our charter. So again, following the process that Jeff has outlined for us in the past, and we're moving forward with the project. So.
And step 2 and 3 of a probably 7-step process. I think there's 5 resolutions altogether before we get to the end, and then there's a couple there as well. But the first one is to confirm the necessity, which we've talked about. We've got some supporting documentation to show that it's absolutely very important for us to take that on. The next one really just sets the date. One thing that we should point out, in the copy that's in the agenda on page 2, which is page 91 of 95, the first paragraph under now therefore it shall be resolved
questions, discussion around this? All kind of knew this was coming. Okay. I'll entertain a motion then to approve Resolution 20-554, establishing Northridge Special Assessment District Number 2.
I'll make a motion.
Motion Commissioner Heisinger. Do I have support?
it.
Commissioner Kent. Any other discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Resolution 20-554 is passed. Next on the list is Resolution 20-555, Northridge Special Assessment District Resolution Number 3.
I'll make a motion for resolution 20-555 with the date being February 24th
We have a
for the public
public
hearing.
hearing.
I'll support.
Motion from Commissioner Kent, support from Commissioner DeShane. Any other discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Those opposed? Resolution 20-555 is passed. All right, we're good there. No other public comment. Deputy Chief Howell, Sergeant Reisman, you're technically a resident. Any comments? All right, just double checking. Thank you, Scott. Commissioner City Manager comments. The only other thing I will share real quick, and Chief, if you want to come up for the KCD, the Dispatch Authority update, but I want to give not just Chief Howe, but Chief Pelton and Kendra as well. We had another very successful pastors meeting this past week. I almost forgot about Tuesday morning. I think we had 16 different as well, and we had 21 the last time. I'm very pleased. We had a lot of people heading south actually last week, and the declines that said I'd love to be there but couldn't. So it's something. I think just the power of having that ecumenical approach of all these different denominations in here, identifying problems and finding ways to solve the problems. To me, is just a very powerful statement about our community, about to have the support of our two chiefs in the room, and a little lighthearted banter and fun with the pastors was good. So
It was a good time.
yeah, it was a good time. So anyway, thank you again. Those events are highly successful for our community. So that being said,
Yeah, and on that note, too, I'll follow up with you. We are hosting our second church security seminar training event. It's going to be occurring on February 8th, and to date, we have over 80 RSVPs, which is very, very powerful. So the seminar is going to be an 8-hour, probably 6-hour event. We're hosting it at Faith United Church up on Walker Avenue, and we're going to talk about what's going on in the church, in the houses of worship lately. So we're very, very happy that we're getting that type of turnout, and I think it has a lot to do with the communications that we continue to have with our local pastors and the outreach. They talk to their cohorts, and the next thing you know, we get this thing rolling. So we should have good reports back for you on that after the 8th. With regards to KCDA, we had our meeting today. Pretty uneventful, very quick, but just a couple things that just to bring you up to speed. Revenue versus cost-wise, we're doing very well. The large cell phone provider I spoke to here a couple months ago to you did come through, and they are charging what they're supposed to be charging, which resulted in about a $1.4 million windfall. When I say windfall, it's catch-up. But we're still in a very good spot when it comes to the budget of this project. The timeline has not changed. The only hiccup we've had and continue to have is that new tower, and we're actually waiting on the county to sign off on the agreement right now. There's no issues with it. It's just the holidays hit us, and we're just kind of waiting to catch back up. One of the board members is a Kent County Commissioner as well. He assured us he'll get on it ASAP. So we should be able to get that agreement signed. And basically what that is saying is that the county is agreeing to take ownership of that new tower, and then any revenue gained from that will be reimbursed back to KCDA until they're made whole for the construction of that tower. The construction cost is going to be about $420,000 estimated, but it's going to be, the return's going to be huge because we're going to maintain the original monopole that was there for the private vendors' use, and then potentially someday transition them over to the new one that we're building. So there'll be some continual revenue opportunities for the county. One area that we did learn today, as of 7:30 this morning, we're contacted by the state, and they had placed a moratorium on encryption for new 800 systems. We believe this is just a temporary thing. And basically what encryption is for the law enforcement entities of the system. The encryption is on our main channels. It'll be a non-public radio frequency. And we do that for a couple of reasons. Number one priority is officer safety, and then also for the privacy of a lot of the citizens that are having media show up before the police do. So it was the consensus of the Kent County Chiefs with support of their jurisdictions that an encryption model is put in place, which is very common for most 800 systems. But we just found out this morning the state has put a moratorium because I think there's the sheriff believes there's some changes in policy at that board level. So we're waiting to hear back. She should have more information by the end of this month, or next couple of weeks. So we're pretty positive that we're going to be able to continue forward. It does not slow down the anticipated project timeline, though, so we're in really good shape there. Just waiting for that tower site to get approved. We should not be set back more than 30 days with that. So everything's still on plan. As soon as the leaves come out, they're going to start doing testing for acceptance, and then still looking for the last quarter of this year for the rollout.
Questions? I think the encryption piece, I'm glad you brought that up. It's something we spoke in the managers and mayors meeting last week. We talked a little bit about that, and not just the chiefs, but I would say also the managers and mayors overwhelmingly, not all at this point, but overwhelmingly are supporting the encryption from a public safety perspective and the need to have that. And you know, we don't see it as much here because we don't have as many media-worthy events, but there have been in other municipalities. There's been some stories shared privately, and I've heard firsthand of the media actually beating beating law enforcement actually to a scene, maybe contaminating a scene inadvertently or getting in the way of things. And while everybody has a job to do, I think the interest of public safety in that situation trumps all, and really has to have the precedent there. So I know for the majority of the mayors that maybe all of them eventually, but we do support the encryption of it.
Yep.
It's not something that will come to the commission. That's a sheriff's, that's because it's the dispatch, their decision to do, but it's something they already support.
Most of the systems in place already have the encryption as well.
Right.
So I think it's a common practice, but it's very interesting that there was this stall placed today on it, so we'll see how that plays out. But we believe it's just a policy issue that can get addressed very easily. Should not affect our project.
Okay, good, thank you.
Yep.
Any other discussions, dialogue before we adjourn? I have one last one. The invites will be going out. I believe they'll go out either Friday this week or Monday next. I'll be out in California at that time, so I'll be out of pocket for a few days. But the State of the City invite will be going out. I can share with you that it will be Monday, March 2nd. We are actually going to be holding it at Felk, which is that big new building you see from the highway up in Walkerview as you're driving by. So was on site today. Some really creative things we're doing here. It's looking forward to the event and what that's going to be. I can share that as a matter of record, have been very diligently raising funds so that this is a non-taxpayer funded event. So this will be funded through private donations to make this go. So kind of excited about this. It is invitation only. Obviously commission won't be there, but have the invitation anyway. But it will not be, because this is a private event, so to speak, that it'll be invite only. So you'll be receiving those soon. Please make sure that if you're able to get logged on and registered. If you're going to be here that night, it's Monday, March 2nd again. It'll start at 5:30. State of the City will be at 6, and I think we'll be done no later than 7 o'clock. So that being said, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting then.
So moved.
Motion from Commissioner Groders. I have support. Support Commissioner Heisinger. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. We are